The Bills ended up making 10 draft picks, and honestly, the biggest thing to note, even before getting into the players, is that they traded 7 times during the draft. They moved out of the first round, but from what I calculated, they basically got all of the value back from the DJ Moore trade. So think of it this way: they basically traded back to 35 and got DJ Moore, and had some value on top of that. So Bean was definitely cooking. I am your host, Devin Long, and this is the 25th episode of the Down South Bills podcast. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy our content. And with that being said, let's get into the players. So with the 35th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Bills took edge TJ Parker from Clemson. So this is really a bet on upside. In 2024, he had 19.5 tackles for loss, 11 sacks, 6 forced fumbles. And then in 2025, he had a drop off, 9.5 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, and 0 forced fumbles. So his production did slip. I'm not really sure why. You hear stuff like he got married mid-season, like I think during their bye week in 2025. I think it was like October, and before October, he was ranked top 10. He was pretty much locked to go top 10 in the 2026 NFL draft. And his coach Dabo says when he got drafted that the Bills are getting a top 10 guy at pick 35. And that's what you're betting on. On the film, his hands stand out immediately. I mean, he has excellent hands, but he's not super bendy. He's more of a power edge. And I know some people feel like they now know that Bean has a type and not Sean McDermott, because Bean once again gets this power edge guy that we already have on our roster in Bradley Chubb, who he recently signed as a power guy, and then also Greg Rousseau. So some people think now that it's Bean who is getting these players and not Sean McDermott just making him pick these players. But then again, excuse me, but then Brandon, Joe Brady did say that he stood on the table for Keon Coleman, so maybe there is a little bit of everybody having players that they choose and things of that nature. So you'll never really know, but TJ Parker, he is a guy that I like. I don't know why his production dipped. Maybe it was because Clemson wasn't a good team as a whole. You never really know there, but they also did have other good players playing around him, so I don't really know how to judge the 2025 season, but I saw this coach once say that if you see someone do something 3 times, it is your job as the coach to get that out of them full time. So in 2024, we saw what he could do when he was given his all. 19.5 tackles for loss, 11 sacks, 6 forced fumbles. I mean, that's not an accident for me. I think that's more so of, hey, I was locked in here, and then maybe 2025, I wasn't as locked in. That's just my overall take on it. But I think right now he's definitely edge 4 behind Hoyt, Chubb, and Groot. And so we'll see what kind of production we get out of him as edge 4. I think it's early to be picking an edge 4 in the early second round. But again, with his production in 2024, if you think you're getting a top 10 pick, then you absolutely pick this guy at pick 35. And so this just tells me that Jim Leonard kind of wants the same rotation he had in Denver. So in Denver, they had 4 guys basically getting the majority of the snaps at edge, and now we have 4 guys who will get the majority of the snaps at edge. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully he pans out. Hopefully he does play like a top 10 talent, and then of course it's a steal pick regardless of him being a defensive end and not maybe what I would prefer it as a defensive tackle who's only gonna probably play first and second down, maybe a little bit of third down. So you know maybe the same amount of production, not necessarily production, but maybe the same amount of snaps for these types of guys regardless. But next we get into the next pick 62. The Bills traded up and got cornerback out of Ohio State, Davison Igbinosun. And so I think they call him IGB for short because his name is a little more difficult. Was a little easy for me. I don't want to brag there, but I think I got it pretty good. Davison, if you see this, let me know if I got your name right. But I do think I got it right, Igbinosun. So, but yeah, I think this pick, very shocking pick for me. A lot of cornerbacks were kind of mocked to the Bills, even in the first round before the draft. And I was like, why would we take a corner? Like last year, we took Max in the first round. We have Christian Benford, who is a very good corner. So why would we take a corner in the first round? And then sure enough, the Bills didn't take a corner in the first round, but they sure as heck took one in the second round and traded up to do it. So I guess Brandon Beane does really value that CB3 spot. And maybe maybe Jim Leonard's like, hey, I didn't draft Maxwell Harrison. I'm not sure if I'm gonna start that guy. I think maybe he's the cornerback three, and then so it just kind of depends on what Jim Leonard wants. But I hope Maxwell is starting. I like Maxwell Harrison. He's a fast guy. I think he played good. He had 2 interceptions in his first 2 games. Like, I don't think that's an accident. He was running side by side with Xavier Worthy. And not to say Xavier Worthy is the best receiver in the NFL, but to run alongside with him is very impressive, especially in game, and not just saying that, hey, you have the fastest 40, but also being able to show that, hey, I have game speed. I can keep up with these guys. But back to IGB. IGB is a long physical press man corner. I think he excels when he's right up on guys, but he's also very handsy. In 2024, he had like 16 penalties, which is insane. That's like more than one penalty a game, which is crazy. But he cleaned it up in 2025 or just got away with it more, which honestly seems like on film a little bit that's what happened, but definitely feels like a Jim Leonard pick. The Broncos led the league last year in like either pass interference or like defensive holding or something like that. Maybe both. But yeah, I think Jim Leonard just likes physical corners. He was a physical DB in his time. So I think we may just be, hey, next year we may just be the Buffalo Bills of if they call PI, they called it, and if they don't, they don't. But it seems like that was our downfall with even Trey White. Like that was I don't want to say it wasn't a pass interference. It was a pass interference, but I think they were calling the game kind of weird that game, and then they decided to call PI that time. But there could have been PIs earlier that they didn't call. So I don't know how I'm gonna feel about playing the PI game, but if that's what we're doing, then hey, that's what we're doing. As a fan, I'm gonna accept it and hope it works out for the best. But you never know. But IGB, yeah, very handsy. Bean said straight up that he hated how we had to put in random guys at corner and they were getting torched against Denver. He didn't say it that way, but he basically said it that way. So CB3 was definitely a bigger need for him than I thought, but hey, IGB seems like a solid guy, seems like good value, solid tackler on film. Around the ball a lot on his film. I mean, picking up forced fumbles, getting tip picks. I mean, he just seems like a guy who's definitely in the right spot a lot. So we'll see how it turns out. We'll see how it turns out. I would have much rather gotten a skill player that early on, offense, a wide receiver or something. But we do address that later on. So I won't complain too much there, Bean. I did after day one a little bit, and after day two a little bit, but day three he definitely changed my mind and made me feel a little bit better about the situation. So we'll definitely get into those picks now. We start with Jude Bowery, offensive tackle out of Boston College at pick 102. This is a depth and flexibility pick, I believe. I watched this film and nothing really stood out. He is a big body. It seems like he can play tackle and he can slide inside if needed. But I think he definitely, based on his skill set and what I've seen on film, I think he'd definitely be a pretty good swing tackle this upcoming year. I think he could definitely slide into that role. But I do like Jude Bowery. You take these swings on offensive tackle late in the draft. I think that's just a good thing to do. And so I think we definitely needed a swing tackle. And I think that was good to pick it up. But then my favorite pick by Bean in this draft comes up next with Skyler Bell, wide receiver out of UConn at pick 125. Definitely like this pick a lot. 5'11", 5'8", 4.4 speed. On paper, 102 catches last year, 1,276 yards. And the next highest on the team had like 30-something catches. So everyone knew he was getting the ball and he still produced. And to me, that matters. On film, the separation stands out, the yak ability, smooth and fluid mover. I mean, he had drop issues, I think, earlier in his career, definitely before last year. He cleaned it up last year. But watching his highlights from last year, he looks like a natural hands catcher. Like he didn't look scared to catch the ball. He made a lot of contested catches. So I think I think he was the perfect pick for the Bills at wide receiver. I know Brandon Bean and Joe Brady were saying that, hey, he doesn't play special teams, and that's a factor when you're going to be the third, fourth wide receiver. But I think this was definitely a good pick to make. Some people around the league really like this guy. Steve Smith Sr. was saying he liked him a lot, and he hated Keon. So that if you thought that he just hated the Buffalo Bills, he doesn't, because he said this before Skyler Bell was drafted, and even after Skyler Bell was drafted, that Skyler Bell was his favorite receiver in the draft. So I think this is a legit mid-round wide receiver swing with upside. That I just really like Skyler Bell. I like his game, and even though he played at UConn, like he killed Syracuse, that's an ACC team, and so I just think when someone like reiterating this again, when they know you're getting the ball, I don't care who you're playing against. If they know you're getting the ball and you still get the ball and have a tremendous game, I think that says a lot. So I really like Skyler Bell and. I think this really strengthens the Buffalo Bills receiver core. I'd be glad if we don't do anything else as far as receiver. I know there's some buzz around Stephon Diggs maybe coming back. Where would he even fit? Like, I know it, and I'm not saying where would he even fit because I do think if your wide receiver core is DJ Morris, Khalil Shakir, Stephon Diggs, Skylar Bell, Josh Palmer, and then Keon Coleman, I do think that like that's a really really good wide receiver core. But I also think like I think they've talked about Keon so much and that they're not trading Keon and that Keon this, Keon that. And even Josh Palmer, like I just think that those guys are gonna be on the field. So I think getting a guy like Stephon Diggs and spending that money, whatever money he may be seeking, I think that just may be a stretch to see that happening. I think we'd be way, way better to invest that in a defensive tackle. But again, Bean did put a lot of emphasis on Dwayne Carter kind of gaining some weight and possibly being our nose. So we'll see there. But getting to the next pick right after Skylar Bell at pick 125, we had pick 126 as well and took Caleb Elams or linebacker out of TCU. And boy, oh boy, watching his film downhill, he gets downhill. I mean, he attacks the run. He can blitz. He plays aggressive. He's not overthinking. He's coming downhill to hit you. He feels like a true 3-4 downhill linebacker. His tape just really popped out to me. Like the first couple plays, like he's downhill right at you. And I just think that's definitely something that this defense needed. I think like Terrell Bernard is like more of a coverage guy. I think Terrell Bernard sometimes gets eaten up like kind of going to attack the run or like taking on blocks. But Caleb Elamsor, he's not second guessing, not trying to get eaten up by. He's trying to go through you and make the tackle. Like it's no thinking about it. Like he's coming to hit you. And I love players like that. Like I feel like he's definitely like I'm playing with my hair on fire type of guy. And so he's another one of those picks that I really, really like. This is how you see that when I say day 3, I really started agreeing with Bean a lot more. So then getting into the next pick 167, Jalen Kilgore, safety out of South Carolina. Also like this pick a lot. He was projected to go second, third round in a lot of mocks by a lot of people, even on the consensus big board. So 4.4 speed, played a lot of nickel, and the athleticism is definitely there. He slid because his production wasn't great. You know, that just happens. But his traits are definitely there. I mean, that's why he's a 4th round pick, but that's also why he was projected to go second, third round. He gives you versatility and definitely somebody who Jeff Rogers, our new special teams coordinator, could definitely use on special teams. Next, we have at pick 181, Zane Durant, defensive tackle out of Penn State. Interior pass rush upside, kind of reminds you of like this is kind of disrespectful, but like an off-brand Ed Oliver, like another one of those guys, not a space-eating nose tackle. I'm not really sure here. I like the player. Like he's a good pick as far as like where we picked him, especially out of Penn State. But I kind of wanted a nose tackle. I'm not gonna count him out because, you know, you can't. He hasn't played yet. You know, we've gotten really good guys in the 5th, 4th round before, so I don't want to count him out. I was just kind of hoping to get a nose tackle there, but you know, I'm optimistic. We'll see how he plays. Don't really know much about him, but we'll see. Cornerback Toriano Pride Jr. out of Missouri, pick 220s next. One of the fastest DBs in the class. Pure trait, speed pick here for me. I think he can run. Developmental piece for sure, but you always love speed. I think we're trying to get a lot faster on the defense. I love that because even though we were kind of sound in our defense, we would get beat because we weren't a fast defense. Like we had older, slower guys on the defense. So I think bringing in some youth, bringing in some speed is always going to be a plus. Next, we had punter out of Florida, pick 239, Tommy Doman. I think this is just a simple pick. The Bills clearly want to lock up a punter long term. We have Mitch Wisnowski, but if this guy hits, he can be our punter for 5, 10 years, and I think that would just be excellent. So big leg, good hang time. We'll see what happens in camp. And then the last pick for the Buffalo Bills, Armaj Reed Adams, guard out of Texas A&M, pick 241, and this is a power guard, 6'5", 314, physical, moves quick in the run game, and he can really move people in that run game, I'm telling you. And I think this is just a shot at filling that guard spot long term, but he is a 7th-round pick. I don't really expect too much. He could end up not making the team, but physical wise, he's got the stuff. So, and then just a UDFA, like a update here. One of the ones that I wanted to point out was Jackson Acker, fullback out of Wisconsin, because we do need a fullback and we did not draft one. As you guys probably know, we're going to be missing Reggie Gilliam. He went to the Patriots and is like the highest paid fullback, so we obviously weren't going to do that. But the Bills utilize a fullback, and I think Jackson Acker out of Wisconsin could definitely be that guy, even though he's a UDFA. I think he got like a $17,000 signing bonus, so maybe he definitely is that guy, but he definitely has some physicality, a lot of physicality in his film. Compact blocking is like his strength, so this may be a legit roster battle as a UDFA, which I wouldn't be surprised by because he is a fullback and then obviously going to play special teams. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, overall, this draft was definitely not flashy because we didn't have a early 1st-round pick, which that we never really have an early 1st-round pick because we're the Bills. We want to not have an early 1st-round pick. We ideally want to be picking pick 32 because we want to be the Super Bowl champion. So yeah, we didn't have an early pick, and this draft seemed very top heavy as far as like the superstars. Like I think like to me, Caleb Downs was the last like, oh my gosh, player like that was taken off the bill. You guys may disagree with me. I may be missing somebody, but just off the top of my head, at 11, Caleb Downs was like the last, oh my gosh, this is a guy player. So I do think this draft has some depth. Like I think it has some quality starters after that point. Don't get me wrong, but I think like the player that you picked at 20 may not be that much better than the player that you picked at 40, and that may just be me, but we'll see. We'll see how it all pans out. I think the Bills definitely built the defensive depth. I think they took a real shot at wide receiver, which they don't always do. So I'm glad that they did that. And I think they also added some old offensive line depth, and some power there. So I think we definitely needed some guard depth long term. If he can stay around, I think we definitely needed a Deion Dawkins, Spencer Brown. If they get hurt, who comes in? So I think we definitely needed that, and I think we just I think we had a pretty solid draft. I didn't necessarily agree with day 2. I think I said I didn't agree with day 1 earlier. I definitely agreed it with the trade backs if I didn't mention that, but day 2 I was a little bit skeptical just because I thought we'd take like Caden McDonald or something like that. And it's okay to admit when you're wrong. You're never gonna get all of these picks right. I think the only one that I would have guessed is probably Skyler Bell. Yeah, maybe Jalen Kilgore, Elam's or, but yeah, I think we did a pretty solid draft in the job. I don't want to give Brandon Beane too much credit here before we actually see these players play, but yeah, I think when you factor in the trades and the value, I think Beane had a really strong weekend. So, with that being said, if you made it to the end of the pod, thank you so much. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy my content. And with that being said, again, go Bills.